Om Swastiastu, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom and good to see you all, guys. Let me introduce myself. My name is Imade Yudis Krisantia. My name is 23055310623, and our lecturer is Professor Dr. Chokoda Gede Tirtan India, ST MT MA. And in this I have a metallurgy TM2301, and I'm from Mechanical Engineering Technical Faculty, Udayana University. And now I will presentation about testing and inspection of metal, the quest for quality. The main reference is take from the book covers Metallurgy for Non-Metallurgy second edition, edited by Arthur Schroeder. And they have 7 subbab. There is metallography, hardness testing, tensile testing, fracture toughness, impact testing, fatigue testing, and the last one is non-destructive testing. As we do know, the level of quality of the product or service may be judged by the customer base upon conformance to the relevant set of specification or standard. For lack thereof, quality may be defined or judged from the subject comparison against an ideal, standard, or similar product, or it may involve quantitative feature of characteristic of the product or service. This is the traditional definition of what is called product quality. Hardness testing is one of the most common non-destructive methods used to test metal products. Another important tool is metallography, where special metallography is basic tool that help transform metallurgy from an art to a science. Metallography also gives metallurgists an important tool in evaluating the quality and condition of metal product. Now we go to the first is metallography. Metallography is the scientific discipline of examining and determining the constitution and underlying structure of or special relationship between the constituents in a metal and alloy. The examination of structure may be done over or a wide range of length, scale, or magnification levels, ranging from a visual or low magnification is like 20 times examination to magnification over 1,000,000 times with electron microscope. Metallography may also include the examination of crystal structure by techniques such as X-ray diffraction. Some history. The critical factor in the light microscopy of metal is the surface preparation of the specimen. This is the basic insight made by the father of the metallography is Henry Clifton Sorby, who in 1863 was the first person to examine properly polished and chemically etched metal samples under the microscope. And macro testing was also used to reveal the structure of polished meteorites, such as famous Winstanton structure discovered in 1888 by Cornelius von Winstanton, a geologist and museum curator in Vienna, and his co-worker Carl von Scribers. They etched various meteorites, and through this effort revealed the outstanding crystalline pattern in a Elbogen iron meteorite that fell in 17,051. An excellent example is like the picture micrograph of the Elbogen iron meteorite prepared in 8008 by Count Winstanton and Scrapers using heavy etching in nitric acid. After rinsing in water and drying, printer's ink was rolled on the etched surface and the sample was pressed on into a piece of paper. Next, we go to the hardness testing. In hardness testing, hardness as in use in industry may be defined as the ability of material to resist permanent indentation or deformation when in contact with an indenter under load. Generally, a hard test consists of pressing an indenter of known geometry and mechanical properties into the test material. Hardness testing may be classified according to various criteria such as the type of indentation, measurement, performance, area of dip, magnitude of the indentation load, nature of the test, i.e. static, dynamic, or scratch test. For example, the measurement of the indentation are used in the Brinell, Vickers, and Knoop hardness test. In contrast, indentation that is measured during Rockwell hardness test. Hardness tests may also be classified based on the magnitude of indentation load. These tests are often grouped as three groups, that is macro hardness test with indentation load until 1 kg F, and the second macro hardness test with indentation load for 1 kg F, and nano hardness test with indentation load that may be as small as 0.1 million nano 10 until 4 Newton, and with dip measurement in the 20 nanometer range. As you can see, macro hardness tests are commonly performed as an integral part of quality assurance produced in macro hardness testing. Load exceeds 1 kg or 2.2 lbs lb, and the resulting indentation is visible to the naked eye. Tests in this category include the Brinell, Rockwell superficial, and Vickers. The heavy load test. The first three are discussed here. Brinell test. The setup for a Brinell testing is, you can see in the Brinell test is, we can see in here, it's like get some pressure from here, and the indentation and measured in millimeter are shown in here. The test is only some small ball. Hardness steel or carbide ball is like 10 millimeter or 0.1 inch. Next, we go to the micro hardness testing. In micro hardness testing, load are less than 1 kg F, and indentation can be seen only with the aid of microscope. Knoop and Vickers load test. Tests are are in this category indenters use and indentation they make are compared in here. There are two figures Vickers indenter. The Vickers indenter is a square-based diamond pyramid. There is the Vickers in here have minus 250 times, and the applied load force in general 1 kg F or less. A typical impression also is shown. And the next is nano harness testing. Nano harness testing tests depend on the simultaneous measurement of the load and depth of indentation produced by those loads. It has become a primary tool for examining thin films coating and material with surface modified by techniques such as ion implantation and laser heat treatment. And the hard conversion, because testing labs are often limited in the type of equipment they have available. This limit the types of testing that they can perform. For this reason and possible several others, it is often necessary to take the reading acquired in one hardness test and convert into a value that will be obtained in a different type of hardness. Next we go to the tensile testing. The tensile testing, mechanic testing of the specimen under tension, is by far the most common type of mechanical test that is performed. The properties derived from tension testing, as described in the chapter 3 in this book, like mechanical properties and strengthening mechanism, that include stress-strain curves showing the elastic and the plastic strain regions of the deformation under load, tensile yield strength, indicating when the elastic limit is reached with some appreciable amount of the plastic deformation, is typical set at 0.2% plastic strain. And the third is ultimate tensile strength, or we can say UTS, defined as the maximum load F max divided by the original cross-sectional are the specimen AO, or then we can calculate UTS equal F max under AO. Now it's the first is testing machine. The mechanical testing machine have been commercially available since in late 80s and have evolved from purely mechanical machines such as popular Little Giant hand crank tensile test of Tinius Olsen Kirka in 9000. And the Little Giant, you can see this is the machine in this picture, and this is the people who operate the machine. The guy is sophisticated machine with either electromechanical is gears in here, or servo hydraulic drives provide rapid precise measurement of load and displacement. This value can then be used to calculate properties such as ultimate tensile strength and elongation, yield strength, modulus of elasticity, and other mechanical properties. The cross-section of the typical gear-driven system is, you can see in this picture, The screws are rotated by variable control motor and drive the movable crosset up or down. The screw can go to up and can go to down. This motion can load the specimen in either tension or compression, depending on how the specimen is fixtured and tested. Screw-driven testing machines currently used are of either R1, 2, or 4 screw design. To eliminate twist in the specimen from the rotation of the screw in a multiple screw system, one screw has right hand 3 and the other has left hand 3. And next we go to the fracture toughness. Plastic deformation in crystalline material occur by a process of shears, and we can see in the chapter 3 mechanical properties and strengthening mechanism. In this book, the actually measured shear strength of the real engineering material are often several orders of magnitude lower than the theoretical shear strength of perfect defect-free crystal structure. And the fracture toughness testing, with the advent of the linear elastic fracture mechanics, engineers now realize that the design of the structure and the machine can no longer, under all conditions, be based on the elastic limit or yield strength of materials. Various tests have been developing to measure the fracture toughness of material, and these tests are generally conducted on test specimen containing a sharp, resisting crack. 5 different standard specimen geometries are specified in ASTM E399. But most fracture toughness tests are conducted with either the edge knot bin or compact test specimen. And you can see it in this picture. It's like this is the one of the compact test specimen. Next, we go to the impact testing. In impact testing, the specimen is subject to dynamic shock loading to evaluate the response of the materials to rapid change in loading, such as the experience by an axle shaft when a car hits a kanghole, a standard impact test. And this operation we can see in here. This is the standard operation when a specimen is placed in the path of the swinging pendulum. The pendulum must bend and or fracture the specimen if it is to continuous its arc. The amount of energy required to break the specimen is absorbed by the pendulum, which then reduce the height to which the pendulum rises. The difference between two heights to which the pendulum can rise, union path h, and the height of the width the pendulum rise after breaking the specimen, h action, represent the energy absorbed in breaking the specimen. This energy is like h minus h action, expressing in Newton meters or joules with a G symbols or foot-pound. A is like feet times lb is called the impact energy of the materials being tested. Next, we go to the fatigue testing. The parts subject to repeat cycle stress often fail in service, even though the applied stress may be well below the yield strength of the material. This applied the stress may cycle between tension of compression or between a minimum and maximum value of tensile stress. In addition, the magnitude of the tensile stress may vary over time. Fatigue is the progressive, localized, and permanent structure damage that occur when the material is subject to cycle or fluctuating strains at nominal stress that have maximum value less than and often much less than the static yield strength of a material. In general, fatigue normal consists of a crack initiation phase followed by a crack propagation phase. The separation of the fatigue process into initiation and propagation phase has been an important observation in the transfer of the multi-stage fatigue process from the field to the laboratory. These types of the fatigue testing methodologies are commonly used: high cycle, infinite life, the stress control fatigue testing; low cycle, finite life, strain controlled fatigue testing; and fatigue crack growth rate testing based on the fracture mechanism concept of stress intensity K at the crack tip. Simulation of both crack nucleation in region of localized strain and the subsequent crack growth mechanism outside of the plastic zone can be produced. And you can see in here, this is the process of the nucleation early growth, and we have the plastic zone and low cycle fatigue test here, and then we go to the compact tension test. Each type of the fatigue testing lies previously is considered in the context of an underlying fatigue design philosophy. Stress life is the SN fatigue test for design with a higher number of cycles. Infinite life design philosophy. Strain life is the EN fatigue test for design with a lower number of the cycle. Finite life design philosophy, and the fatigue testing of fracture mechanic specimen to measure fatigue. Crack growth rates, damage tolerant design of the component with existing crack. Stress life fatigue testing is one of the oldest approaches to fatigue testing. The design method is a stress life, and the property from the testing is the SN curve for stress versus number of the cycle failure. And the strain life fatigue testing is the general approach employed for the continuum response in the same life, finite life regime. It is primarily intended to address the low cycle fatigue area. It's from approximately 102 to 106 cycles. Fatigue crack growth rate test. Although S until N fatigue curves have some qualities are used for grading material selection, the S and N approach is subject to limitation, primarily by the failure to adequately distinguish between fatigue crack initiation life and fatigue crack propagation life. And last we go to the non-destructive test. Various non-destructive testing (NDT) and inspection techniques are commonly used to detect and evaluate flaws, irregularities, or discontinuities, or defects in engineering system. Of the many different NDT techniques used in industry, liquid penetrant and magnetic particle testing account for about one half of the all NDG. Ultrasonic inspection method and X-ray method account for about another third, eddy current testing about 10%, and all other methods totally only about 2%. Now we go to the liquid penetration inspection is a non-destructive method used to find discontinuities that are open to the surface of solid, essentially non-porous material. The liquid penetrant inspection process is, you can see in this picture, in a discontinuity. Open the surface of the metal is located by allowing a penetrating dye or fluorescent liquid to infiltrate it, and the liquid is in here become included to the material. It's like in the A position, B position, and C position. Unities that have no broken through to the surface but are within 6.4 mm or 0.25 inch of it may be detected. Process limitation include the first is the test must be ferromagnetic, and the second is thin coating of paint and other non-magnetic covering such as plating reduce to sensitivity of the process. Demagnetization and cleaning are often necessary following inspection. Magnetic particle indication are easy to see, but their interpretation often requires skill and experience. And the radiographic inspection. Radiographic is based on different absorption of penetrating radiation, much like the X-ray taken at the doctor's or dentist's office. Their basic elements are input, radiation source, testing or object being evaluated, and recording medium. And the next is ultrasonic inspection. During ultrasonic inspection, beams of high frequency acoustic energy are introduced into a material to detect surface and subsurface flaws, to measure the thickness of the material and measure the distance to an orientation of a flaw. And the next is eddy current. Eddy current inspection is based on the principle of electromagnetic intrusion and is used to identify of differentiate a wide variety of physical, structure, and metallurgy conditions in electrically conductive, ferromagnetic, and non-ferromagnetic metals. The alternating current, also known as the exciting current, cause eddy current to flow in the part of the result of electromagnetic induction. A flaw such as crack in a pipe cause a change in the characteristic of the flow of the current. For example, in the picture here, illustrate pipe travel along the length of the inspection coil in section A to A. And you can see in here in section A to A is the pipe. In here, eddy current flow is in the in of the pipe. Then inspection coil in here. As apparent, the crack is not present because the flow of eddy current indicated by arrows was not impeded or is symmetrical. Thank you for watching my presentation, and I will close with Om Santi 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 Om. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Namo Buddhaya, and bye bye.